Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Well, if you listened to last week's show, you know you're in for a treat. And we are doing part 2 of a 3-part series with Dr. Judi Hollis, who is an expert in the field of eating disorders and who has written several best-selling books. She's been on Oprah and Dr. Oz and how many? What another?
The View and Lisa and Maury and
The View
Geraldo,
and Maury and Geraldo. My goodness. And we were looking at her first book, which was very seminal in the field, really broke ground in the field, called Fat is a Family Affair. And it seems like so obvious now, but in the late 70s, the idea of other people being sick or afflicted because someone they love has an eating disorder and how everyone has something to do with it. We call that a system, and families have systems. All relationships are a system. What goes on in our mind is a psychic system. So what we really want to understand is how systems work between people and within people. And last week, Judi, you talked about parts that when you're saying to someone or you're saying to yourself, oh, you should have that or eat that or this will cure all your problems, which part is that?
Yeah, of yourself. Which part of yourself? Which part of
ourself is that? And this, in my language, specializing in internal family systems, which is psychic internal, we call that firefighter, protector part there. And the job of the firefighter parts of us is to immediately stop the pain. Immediately stop the pain. So I want to go back.
So food is the quickest.
Food
That's the
is
best choice.
Like, what is that? Liquor is liquor is quicker, but sugar, what is it? I don't know. Candy is dandy.
Dandy, but liquor is quicker.
Candy is dandy, but yeah. Liquor is quicker. Mm-hmm. So as we were saying last time, food is relatively inexpensive. It's $1 Happy Meal, or it's accessible, it's legal, you don't get arrested for it. Mm-hmm. All of that, and it tastes so good, and it's like a party in your mouth.
Comfort, absolute comfort. Yeah, so how can we live with less comfort? A little bit on the raw side. Having a little bit, feeling a little hungry when you leave the table. Not hungry, but not stuffed, let's say. Yeah. All of these little things that Americans are so spoiled. I hate to say it, but I travel all over the world, and you see people that just don't even want to overstuff themselves. They just kind of feel natural in the world, not supercharged, not bloated, I
remember the first time I traveled abroad and I went to France and I ordered an ice cream and they gave it to me in this little Dixie cup.
Yeah.
And I was shocked and appalled. I want more.
Right.
And everything in America is supersized.
Right.
It's oversized.
And so
bigger is better.
Right. And you know what happens when you've grown up learning to eat that way is the first few bites you don't even taste because you're just getting through those to get to the bottom of the giant bowl.
Yeah.
Whereas France and in other places, people, and these are things we taught in treatment centers, are taught more how to savor. And really enjoy and suck the experience dry. Get all you can out of it. So people who learn what I do always think I'm against food and against eating. And I say, au contraire, it's the opposite. I want you to eat and really savor and enjoy your food. I mean, it's a wonderful experience. Make it count. Yeah. And make your life count.
So even though I think you wrote Fat and Furious right after you wrote Fat as a Family Affair, and then you wrote Hot and Heavy, it sounds like it would be appropriate for us to talk about your other best-selling book, Hot and Heavy. Well, would you care to?
I will. Let me just, I'll just say a brief thing because it shows the progression.
Yes.
Because a friend of mine says that what's so interesting about these recovery programs is that we have to grow up in public. Right? Other people witness our trying to throw the hissy fits and then are having to come back around and acknowledge our behavior and try to do things differently. So it's all a process of growing up and maturation. Right. And that's what your life is about, right? Okay, so then after a certain point, your job is to grow up and leave home. So that's what the book Fat and Furious was about. It was about mothers and daughters. And the fact that whether we loved them or hated them, most of us were too closely attached to our mothers. Right. And didn't know how to walk away and live our own lives. Perhaps that mother was suffering on her own. Yeah. And it didn't feel good. I can't be happy, joyous, and free when people back home are still suffering. Yes. And our parents didn't know how to have their own life, especially our mothers, so they clung on to these daughters to live through them. Wow. And I would always advise, when mothers came to treatment with their daughters, I'd always say, the best thing for you to do for your daughter is tell her to grow up and leave you. Mm-hmm. That's what she's supposed to do. But that was the hardest thing ever. But so I'm just saying that was a necessary stage in recovery. Then, what do you do once you have really grown up and left home? What's the next thing? Okay. Is to find an acceptable partner. Right. And to grow into your sexual life and your adult life on the planet. So I saw the relationship between how people eat and how they have sex and how they enjoy life. Mm-hmm. And that's how the book Hot and Heavy came out. Fat and Furious was about mothers and daughters. And then Hot and Heavy was, now that you've grown up and you've left home, how do you really have a nice sex life, a beautifully set table where you really enjoy your food, and learning how to appreciate sexuality and sensuality on this planet. So that's what that book was about. And it was, and in it I do teach people how to eat more sensually. Mm-hmm. I take them through what we call the Divine Dine. And also the Divine Dine. Right. And there's a script given in the book so that they can eventually make their own audio tape of themselves giving those directions to themselves while they're eating. And I always told people, if you do this one meal a week, just one meal a week, it's just a practice thing. You don't always have to eat this way, but just one meal a week, it will drastically change every relationship in your life. Because when you're no longer slapping yourself with a Twinkie, you don't become available for others to slap you. Slapping yourself with a Twinkie. Yeah. How poignant. And I grew up as a battered child, and then I became a battered wife because it's all I knew as real contact. Yes. And I had to learn that there were other ways that I could negotiate with people about being intimate with them. Right. Make contact, be close, and have space, and have individuality and integrity. Yeah.
Yeah, so what kind of directions would people give to themselves for this divine dine?
Okay. Well, first you set a nice table with your napkin and maybe flowers, maybe candles, all the stuff that people seem to really know nowadays. And they say, oh, yeah, we know that. But actually doing it is different than knowing it, right?
Yeah.
And I did a lot of seminars with this. There's even a videotape they can order if they want on JudiHollis.com. But basically, a person there's a lot of exercises first about looking at the food, smelling the food, drinking all the water you want before the meal because you're not going to drown your food. You're going to really use all your mouth juices and your
mouth juices.
Yes.
And not drink water while you are eating.
Not at all, no. You make it all happen organically in your body without outside help.
Yes, yes.
So I ask people to take that first bite and quickly put down the fork. And just feel the difference between having nothing in you and all of a sudden there's something there. Are you getting the connection to sex? It's the same kind of attention must be paid. When my boundaries are crossed, that is an important event. It doesn't matter which orifice. It's an important event. So I ask people to teach themselves how to make that eating experience an important event. Then I ask them to chew, and they chew that bite to liquid. And then when they feel that bite get swallowed, that's the signal to pick up the fork and have the second bite. So throughout this training, this Divine Dine is a training experience. Throughout it, you are putting down your fork between bites, chewing your food to liquid. That's the signal. Pick up the fork and take in that next bite. It's very hard to learn at first. But once you've learned it, you'll find that you want to do it sometimes on your own. You like sitting down even to a meal by yourself and taking yourself through the experience. At the end of the meal, we suggest that you do some kind of a ritual to say bye-bye. This meal is over.
Yes.
First, let me take a reading on how full I feel. And we really don't want you to feel too full. We want you to feel maybe half full. And am I willing to let myself feel this was enough for me for this meal?
Yes.
And then you do a ritual like putting your napkin on the plate or whatever you do, pushing the plate away, but a way to say goodbye for this meal. It's the only one I'll have on this
goodbye
date.
For this meal.
That's right.
And let me give my body a rest to digest, which is hard work. And let me learn about let me be in my life in other ways. I've satisfied my biological need and also, as you say, the sensual and physical and emotional need in the tastiness of it. And now what else is in my life? So much, so much. That old saying about eat to live or live to eat, and putting things in right order, in perspective.
Right. Yeah.
So I just want everyone to know that you and I met about 30 years ago.
Wow.
It was at a TV studio.
Yes, I think I was leaving and you were coming in. You were the
I
next
was
show.
Leaving and you were coming in.
Okay, sorry. All right. Thank you for keeping me straight,
Yes,
Dr. Duffy.
Yes, it was a cable TV in Great Neck, and it was Sandra Lee, the Sandra Lee Show, and
which I have clips of up on my webpage, by the way.
Oh, you do?
Of that Sandra Lee Show. Yeah.
Really?
Just go to JudiHollis.com.
Well, I also wanted to ask you about your books, and is it possible to get any of them?
Oh, of course, yes. All of my books are on Amazon, and you can also go to my webpage where you can have downloads of free lectures and many free podcasts. And you can also order the book directly on my webpage. If you click the book, it'll take you to Amazon. Where you order it. But also, you can see videos where I talk about what each of the book is about, and also TV shows and other things I've done. So there's a lot to get there. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I send them out about once a quarter, not a whole bunch of, inundating you with stuff. I'm not trying to promote or anything at this point.
Yes.
But just like to keep you informed of what's happening in the field as well as what I'm doing.
Very good. So it's JudiHollis.com.
Right. And usually my name is spelled JudiHollis, but even if you spell it JudyHollis, it'll go there.
It'll still go there.
Yeah.
That's very clever.
Well, you just register the 2 domain names.
Oh, that's brilliant. Wonderful. So I have mentioned it from time to time on Just Relationships, you may recall, but I also did my doctoral dissertation on compulsive overeating and women. And so you and I met, and it was instant love, and 30 years later, here we are.
Aren't we?
So, okay.
And we're both very cute and adorable.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, this is not television, so we have to keep people apprised.
And we have to tell people that we're both still cute and adorable. And you have maintained a
85-pound weight loss.
85-pound weight loss. For how many years?
40. Well, actually, now it's 44 years.
44 years.
And actually, the book I have coming out next is called Diva Seeking Shiva. But there's one after that. I'm not even going to tell you the title because it is so cool. I don't want anyone to steal it.
Yeah.
But that book is going to be about aging in recovery and how your diet programs, when you have a food problem, how your relationship with food has to change yet again, and how your dieting programs have to change, and your attitudes about yourself and the world. The main thing, I think that the 12-step programs kind of train us in getting ready for death. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but we're constantly asked to learn about letting go, about giving up, about cease fighting everything and everyone, including food.
Yes.
And so that's what the newer book will be about. It's for older people. What do you do now? You're not just a first-year recovery person. You've been around a while. You know some things. You know what works for you food-wise. And the reason I'm saying I just mentioned this now is I was just out with a friend last night, and I told her I am really grateful that my early life was when I suffered so much with my eating and my body image. Because now that I'm an older person, I'm not that old, but I am a little bit aging, and now I look and feel better than I've ever been. I'm very active physically. I'm very strong physically. I'm more interested in function than form. And I also wear the smallest dress sizes I ever wore, and I also have a cute way about me as an older person. And for me, it counts more now than it would have if I'd just been one of those young, gorgeous women. There's too many of them anyway. I don't really mean that.
Yeah, but breaking through all those stereotypes. And so when you're talking about aging and recovery, are you referring specifically to eating disorders?
For the most part, I am, because and mostly to women.
Yes,
because that's who I treat. I mean, that's been my major. I've done all kinds of addicted families for many years, but the primary draw for me is overeater women, and now it would be women of. Let's say the baby boomer generation.
The baby boomer generation. So when you say that eating changes or something changes?
Well, I was saying that the relationship with food changes in that in early recovery, you have to make food so important. You have to really stay focused. Some people even weigh and measure. I used to have clients who were advised by their sponsor to eat every 2 hours. They would wear a stopwatch that would buzz them every 2 hours to eat. You know, they were into that kind of rigidity.
Rigidity only because they didn't have an internal structure and they needed an external structure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm not putting any of this down.
Right.
It works, whatever works. Okay.
Yes.
I was on a very rigid food plan for many years. And it's how I lost my major weight.
Yes.
But as you get more along, first of all, as Dr. Duffy was referring to, we develop more internal discipline, and we don't need that external thing. And plus, like I was mentioning earlier, you learn how you're in this about making choices. Sure, I'll have that piece of cake, but I'm probably going to feel withdrawals tomorrow. Am I willing to pay that price? It's a choice.
Yeah, you think consequentially.
Exactly.
And you make that choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is that maybe your food plan might be more relaxed and you're able to handle something more relaxed because, like you say, you have the internal structure, but also you've been doing all the things suggested in a 12-step recovery program to basically undergo a major personality change. They don't tell you that when you first walk in, you know. They'll say, you know what? You don't have to change one single thing. And then later on they say, you don't have to change one single thing because you have to change every single thing. And so...
Wow, regular transformation.
That's right.
Yes.
And we are so lucky, I am, to have been given this illness to bring me to the place that I was surrendered, that I can't do this on my own, despite how beautifully intelligent I am. I cannot do it. And it made me open up to following direction and learning about a whole different way of life.
Wow. So I'm thinking about grandiosity being the opposite, the polarity of shame. So that if I am ashamed, which is about covering up and hiding, then I have to flip it. And now I'm going to, not only am I not the worst person, I am the best person. So, and we look at the personality of the addict as being very grandiose. Again, egomaniacs with inferiority complexes. And being right-sized, as they so often say.
That's what recovery will bring you.
12-step programs. Yeah. And really, really living it. And I'm reminded of the concept of dry drunk. Becky Jackson wrote a book called The Dry Drunk. And I think that what she was referring to is people going on diets without a program. Without any kind of spiritual or emotional program, they're just going on the next latest diet. And so the idea of really having a spiritual program, if you just look at the prayer that AA adopted from Reinhold Niebuhr, and it's good for everyone. It is the core, the kernel, the crux of stress management. So you change what you can, and you accept what you can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly.
So it really is everything, and I would add to feel the feelings, as we talked about in the last show, that we think we're going to die. Right? We are in such pain, we're going to die. If we feel rejected, if somebody disagrees with us or disapproves of us. And the truth is that historically, we did die. We did die when we were rejected. If we were rejected by the clan, we could not live alone in the wilderness. We needed the tribe. We needed the group to live. So that's one reason why human beings feel like they're annihilated. They'll be annihilated if they fall out of favor with someone that they care for, that they feel they love. So that sense of doom of demise. You know, I'm also thinking about how there's a much higher rate of suicide among teenagers. And the reason for that is because, unlike adults, teenagers don't have a repertoire. They don't have a historical repertoire. Oh, my God. An adult would say, I have been this far down before, and I have come out of it. And I've come out of it.
Yeah, the idea that this too shall pass.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But teenagers say, this is my life, and this is my life forever, and I can't tolerate it. So, again, I go back to such an important thing of just breathing through your feelings, just sitting there, feeling the angst because the adrenaline is in your system. And I always encourage my therapy clients to do free writing. And that I'm encouraging you, my audience, to do free writing and to suspend all rules of penmanship and grammar and punctuation and all of that. And it can even be X-rated. Ideally, actually, it is X-rated. And you just continuously write because that frees up your subconscious. And you get the dreck, the dirt, you get it out. You spill it out on paper. And the act of writing helps the brain to become more linear because now you're thinking something, writing something, and looking at it. So you are moving from one thought to another instead of the circular ruminating, as people tend to do on a looped tape. So you do that. And as you say, this too shall pass, and I don't have to destroy myself any longer.
Right.
So you were asking me earlier about doing podcasts, and I did a podcast the other day where I talked about real self-care versus fake self-care, and then cosmetic self-care, that women often do cosmetic self-care. So we're looking at real self-care, not fake self-care. And in my view, overeating or drugging or drinking or anything along those lines is fake self-care.
Right.
So we're looking at real self-care. And what does that mean? What does that mean?
And each of us needs to find out what that is. What do you want? What jerks your chain? What floats your boat?
Yes.
And to be really authentic about that instead of just following lockstep in line with what the media is telling you should want. What if that doesn't really satisfy you?
Right, in any regard. So what are the prescribed feelings on New Year's Eve?
Right.
On New Year's Day, how am I supposed to feel versus how do I feel? And what do I want, not what am I supposed to want? Well, on that note, Dr. Judi Hollis, we have to close this show.
I want to stay longer.
I know. And the good news is we are doing part 3 with Dr. Judi Hollis. So, and again, you can, if you want to listen to this show again, or you want your friends to listen, just go to WHPC 90.3 FM, and you will see where you can get a podcast and scroll down to Just Relationships and then Dr. Judi Hollis, and you will find this show. So this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.